and welcome to the Table Tutorials. Today we're going to create your very first table in Access. In order to access Access, you first go to your Start button, then you go to All Programs, look for Microsoft Office, and then you click on Microsoft Access. Once there, we're going to create a blank database, and that database is going to be named Contacts. So we'll click here, but first we need to go over to the right side, and on File Name we'll type in Contacts after we erase Database 2. And then we will click Create. Alright, this is your first table. In order to create our table, we want to go to something called the Design View. We can achieve this by clicking on this button that has the protractor, ruler, and pencil. We can click here, or we can go down to the bottom right of our screen, and that exact same icon is at the bottom, and it says Design View. So we'll click on Design View. Now it's going to ask us to save the table, and we need to think about what we want to name it. This is the Contacts database, and the main part of our database will be Contacts, so our first table will be Contacts as well. So simply type it in, click OK. This is where you name your fields for your tables. And the first one we're going to leave it alone. That's called a primary key. It's going to give each contact that you create an identifying number that cannot be duplicated. So every one of your records will have a very special number attached to it. And you can use that number to do some other things later in Access that we'll talk about. So our first field. When we think about contacts, there's certain specific things that we want to put in so we'll be able to identify our people. The first one we're going to use is title. Okay, this title will be Mr., Mrs., Doctor, whatever. Next we'll do first name. Now you don't want to type in first name. We'll give it a shortened name, F name, M name. And what I'm doing is simply hitting enter several times to go down to the next line. We need an address, a city, state, zip code, home phone, cell phone, email address. Now you can add in any additional fields you want, but for our tutorial we're just going to stick with these. You could put in birthday, spouse's name, anything such as that you want to keep track of. The next thing I'm going to show you is that depending on what state you're in, most of your contacts will be in that state. So let's take a look at the state column. When you click on any particular row in your any particular field name, if you look at the bottom, you'll get some field properties. One of these is default value. That means that the database will automatically fill that in for you. Even though it automatically fills it in, you can go back in and change it. Now, since we're in South Carolina, most of our contacts will be there. We're going to put in South Carolina, surrounded by quotation marks. This tells Access that for every record we enter, just go ahead and fill in South Carolina for us, and we don't have to worry about filling that in. Okay, option that you might want to try is to have your telephone numbers come up a certain way. I know sometimes you've been on the internet and it puts in the parentheses and the dash for you before you even start putting in the telephone number. Well, we're going to do that. That's called an input mask. So what we'll do is click on the field name for home phone, and down in the bottom in the field properties, we'll see Input Mask. We scroll over to the right and click. It's going to ask you if you want to use this particular function, and you're going to click Open. It's going to ask, do you want to save the table first? And you're going to click Yes. And now it opens an Input Mask wizard. Phone number is the very first one, so we'll use that one. Skip over this section. Just click by clicking Next. And now you want to store it in the database with the symbols. So when you print it out, it'll have the area code in parentheses and the dash between the numbers, as opposed to just a listing of numbers. So we'll click Next. and finish. We're going to do the exact same thing with cell phone. Again, you click on the field name, go to input mask, click the ellipses at the end. Yes, you want to save your table. Again, we have phone number. We're going to click next. Going to click next. And with the symbols. We click next and finish. And that's how you give your telephone numbers or anything else a certain look. Now, if you want to see what your database table looks like, we can click on here. It says View up top left. You want to save the table again. And here you can see that in the first record, although we have nobody listed, it's already put in the state as South Carolina. And if we click here, you'll see where it has the parentheses and the dash in it for you for the home phone number. Okay, that's the end of tutorial number 1. Please take a look at the next sections and feel free to ask me questions.